Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem here on the 18th of April here. Hard to believe, already mid-April here. Had a squall come through here yesterday, right over Lehigh University. This is Weather Trends 360 camera south. See the rainbow there emerge right onto the left side of the screen here. So it was an interesting day here yesterday afternoon. We are also now on the Sparterra marketplace. Again, we've got 48 seasonal categories. Again, what we do here is predict year-ahead weather by temp, rain, snow, by week, by mile, out a year, rolling year, and then predict hundreds or even thousands of seasonal categories. We've got 48 seasonal categories live on their marketplace. Everything from lawn and garden to wiper blades to pool chemicals, cold beverages, you name it, spring categories are on the site here. So it's a cheap way to get analytics for those seasonal categories a year ahead. Again, so again, to help small businesses versus the Fortune 500 guys we help today. Thought we'd ask the robots here today, tell me about spring severe weather outlook here. Again, we did well on this year ahead forecast here. So this was our year ahead insurance type product. Again, part of the report here that insurance folks get. But again, highlighting some spring events. We had that California avalanche hit that, had the Oklahoma early wildfires hit that, had the nor'easter was a couple weeks earlier than March, but again, late February there. They had also had the brush fires, and we've had one here in the Northeast already. Hit the big blizzard in the Midwest. That actually was near historic blizzard. Hit the drought in the Southeast. A little bit of flooding there, not much, but some in there eastern Florida. So again, drought in the Carolinas, but the flood in southern Florida. And then the big tornado hail events that we've had here through Michigan and parts of the Midwest here. So it's done well here this year. We even had some of those, again, brush fires here in the Northeast. Finally put those out here. Again, let's ask the robot here about El Nino because it's getting a lot of buzz here. Again, model left is the one most folks like. The RI model shows getting to a strong El Nino by late summer, fall. CFS is kind of the weaker of the models. Again, it suggests moderate. Again, it had been suggesting strong, but it's backed off a bit. Not a fan of models because we can just look at empirical evidence here. And so we have one interesting cycle here, this PMM, positive PMM cycle, just very warm. You heard about this, probably headline news of the near record warm waters off Mexico. And then obviously the very rapidly warming waters off of Peru showing the El Nino. The two of these things could actually merge, and that's the concern here to make a potentially very, very strong El Nino. We go back to 9 November, we're in the middle of La Nina, so all that cold water is looking below the equatorial Pacific from Central Australia all the way to Ecuador here, so way below normal, typical La Nina, cold waters in the equatorial Pacific. And now look at, this is the concern why there's hype about a super El Nino. We've got 5 degrees Celsius above average water temperatures, about 300 feet below the surface. So again, from Hawaii to California, just very, very warm waters just below the surface. If that were to percolate all the way to 5 degrees C, that would be the El Nino of all time history. Get to about 2 plus 2 C at the surface, and that's a super El Nino. So again, that's why there's some hype here that we could certainly get to a very, very strong El Nino by summer, fall time frame. What that means here, if we just look at analogs, I'm not a huge fan of analogs, but they basically take all the past potentially emerging strong El Ninos, and what does it mean? And it typically means a cooler summer for eastern two-thirds of the country and wetter for the eastern two-thirds of the country. So cool, wet is kind of the theme for summer under these developing El Nino scenarios. See warm conditions in Hawaii, and again, continue excessively wet here. Hawaii spigot's going to turn off here eventually here later this summer, probably, where they start to go from floods to rapid drought. So the floods in the near term for Hawaii. Look at last week world summer here, any date, 18th here. So it was a warm week, 5.3 warmer last year, warmest in 24 years, second warmest in 41 years. Good for retail seasonal sales, so especially here in the eastern half of the country. Snowfall was down about 35%. Rainfall up 164%, wettest in 4 years, and that's slightly above average here. So that's kind of a dampening impact on store traffic, but overall, we would say it was a good week for seasonal sales. Canada still cold, wet, and snowy. That's kind of been their theme all spring here. Europe a little bit cooler, but again, still warmer than, way warmer than average. Hot spot there maybe in China. Again, second warmest in 41 years. Map inset left are the trends versus average. Big map here is the trends year on year versus last year. Look at the severe weather here this week. Again, we added this past 7 days here. We added 52 tornadoes, 378 hail events, and 428 wind events. We're still generally trending just near average on tornadoes. Hail slightly below average, and wind cases, again, above average. So again, we're going to get a little more activity here today, and then it's going to lull here. So if we look at the SPC's outlook here, Eastern PA, Ohio Valley, again, a heightened threat for some severe thunderstorms, and then it kind of diminishes here for probably until we get to about day 6. So, latter part of next week, we may see another resurgence of severe weather. Looking at this week here, again, we got a strong cold front coming through the east, northeast here. So again, cooler, 1.5 cooler than last year. Still 15th warmest, but again, cooler nationally. We're going to dump the snow trends here now. We've added the hot 90-degree day index here in the middle of the chart here. So those are actually down 35%, least in 5 years, sixth least in 41, but well below average in terms of really hot days. If there's a hot spot, we'd say there in the Central Plains. Precip again down about 32%, 10th driest, but very stormy there across the Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana areas. If we look at next week here, again, getting into the first couple of days of May, hard to believe here, but early May at cooler trends. We warned about this, so there'd be a chance of frost. So we've got some here this coming week here in the east. We could actually have Tuesday time frame, get well below freezing. And then next week, again, even another chance of some frost and freezes all the way from the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley into the Northeast. So 3.7 cooler nationally for the week, coolest in 3 years. Hot days way down, 62% fewer than a year ago, least in 21 years. So not a lot of really hot days for this period here. And rainfall, again, we'll see about this, down 12%, driest in 4 years. We'll see. Models have not been doing great with the short-range precip forecast here. Look at the World 2-week outlook, just aggregating the 19 April through 2 May period here. So general theme is going to be cool across the central eastern Canada and cooling across the Great Lakes into the northeast will be the general theme. Again, big map here is the trends versus average. Bottom map is the trends versus last year. Getting hot and dry in Brazil after they've been kind of a cool, wet pattern here for the past few months. But again, hotter trends for them. And look, you see the drier. Big bullseye have dry there in Brazil again. They've been quite wet. Parts of Brazil and the growing regions wettest in 10 years. So a little bit of drying pattern won't be a huge impact on their crops. But again, see more snow still across Canada. So it's crazy. They're having a delayed spring for sure. Map inset left is the trends versus average. Don't forget you can get this newsletter in your inbox every Saturday afternoon. Again, just a link there to subscribe to this free blog every day in your inbox. With that, folks, have a great week ahead, and we will talk to you again this time next week.